Okay, let's get to this question. You know, it's a long shot, but getting desperate for options. Your daughter has a hefty IEP, which is written great, and I'll get to that, my thoughts on that. You've questioned several times on how it's being followed, but our biggest concern is her mental health at this point. She has gone from loving school to hating it. She struggles with seeking approval and acceptance from adults, which she doesn't get from 98% of the teachers. She struggles with mean kids and can't seem to find her place. She has cried herself to sleep, feeling like the teachers hate her. She is begging not to go back. Her anxiety just keeps increasing. She did amazing during remote learning, and her confidence has increased. Is there anything that would allow us a partial day in school? You feel stuck. Okay. Number one, when you write that your daughter has a hefty IEP, which is written great, I call that into question because a greatly written IEP, I just don't see the kind of problems that you're seeing on the back end. Okay. The one thing I can tell you in doing this, as long as I've been doing it, is that, I look at IEPs, especially, Alabama's, they're using Power School now. So here in a couple of years, when everybody gets acclimated, you'll end up finding out that the IEPs that used to exist under pre-Power School made more sense. Power School is going to increase the volume of paper. And so let's say a Texas IEP, which I have an office in Texas, it just isn't uncommon to see a 36-page IEP. Now, at the same time, you can say, oh, that's a hefty IEP. But the thing is, it doesn't matter what the words are, guys. It really matters more about the content. That's important, but then implementation and making sure the content's correct and the content is tied to addressing all educational performance need areas. Now, what are the educational performance need areas? We got academics, okay? Then we have communication, but then we also have social emotional development. That cannot be dismissed and it can't be minimized, all right? Now, schools will over-focus on academics, but that does not negate the equality of need or recognition under the law for these other two areas of communication and social emotional development. All right. Now, what's very important is your daughter's perspective and her perception of what's going on in school. And children are dismissed frequently by adults. And that is something that shouldn't happen. It happens all the time, though. What is going on is also very common toward the end of the school year. Also, we're in the midst of state testing, which also naturally increases child anxiety. Now, I'm having this issue, I have it every year around this time. The state, many of the schools will lie to parents and say that they cannot waive their child's participation in the state testing. You can. And if you waive their participation in the state testing, and if you have principals or anybody else that tell you that you can't waive it, that's an absolute lie. There's a state superintendent memo that comes out every year telling you that you as a parent can waive participation and the school needs to provide alternatives for your child to do during state testing if your child waives participation. Now, what is the state testing? State testing is not for your child. It's a report card for the school attached to every Student Succeeds Act. We mindlessly prepare students for this state testing that has zero to do with your child. It unnecessarily ratchets up anxiety because of this test. It ratchets up the anxiety and the stress of the teachers. It finds its way all across the hallways, and there you go. So I'm just pointing out different factors that could be playing into these problems. The other thing that I would look at is what, you didn't mention it, but what is your child's disability needs? I mean, why does she have an IEP? So she could be sitting in class feeling like she doesn't understand the content or what's going on, feeling like she doesn't have any confidence, feeling as though her peers that she's less than, that she's not as smart as everyone else. And these perceptions Staff may not even be aware that she feels this way. And also, children are resilient in their ability to hold things in and lock it in and then unleash when they get home, meaning that they just either break down, they're crying, they're angry, whatever, that they're able to hold these things together while at school. And then let loose when they get home. I see those things all the time. And you sit there and you go, oh, my child was thriving in virtual learning. You know, I don't know what your child requires with regards to special education. There are some children that their special education needs are not that significant to the point where the benefit analysis, okay, would be one to where you might strongly consider being one of those families that homeschool, that look at the variety of options out there. There's also online public schools that could, you know, through Alabama, that could serve your child, that also they're mandated to provide your child special education services. And, you know, at that point, you would just unenroll your child from your public school and enroll them into one of the state virtual schools. And like I said, they would have to have IEP meetings and you would have the same rights. And at that point, your child would participate in a virtual school. You know, or you can look at, like I said, homeschool options, to where in your community, you can find those things on Facebook or anywhere else. You would have what's building as very strong homeschool co-ops, to where, you know, parents pull together and they offer classes, you know, sort of like college classes, you know, to where, you know, you have electives and you can sit there and choose these classes. Now, the benefit is that, you know, they're being taught by, some of these classes are being taught by people with advanced degrees. I mean, you know, parents sit there and volunteer to teach these courses. And my kids, you know, two of my kids are homeschooled in a co-op like that, and wonderful learning opportunities. But at the same time, the stress isn't there, guys. The anxiety is not there for my kids. And then they have those socialization opportunities far more than they have in school. And we're not beholden to any kind of, you know, inane, stupid testing. And I don't have to sit there and worry about my kids. You know, I don't have to worry about a lot. Or my daughter, who has an IEP, still goes to public school, where I can protect her and protect her rights. And we can, you know, I have a voice on the IEP team. I have no voice when it comes to my sons. They don't have an IEP. I can't control the curriculum. I can't control what stupid stuff is being taught that is now finding its way into our public schools. I'm their parent. My wife and I are their parents. And, you know, it's our responsibility to raise good, moral, ethical, good people. And there's a lot of stuff out there that's just not good anymore. All right, so those are the options out there, but I would never ever discount your child's perspective and how she feels. It's real. You know, the other thing is we're coming up on the end of the school year, and summer tends to be an amazing thing, and then they're excited to go to school again. It's just, how do we get to the end of the school year? There are a myriad of options out there. Now, could you go to your IEP team and ask for partial days? You could. And there are some schools that they offer these hybrid programs. I don't know which school system you're in Alabama. I think I have an idea, and but I don't see them doing that. Depends on the nature of your child's needs and how much of those needs the school system actually recognize. You know, you'd have to sit there and show that all these things are going on, and that's going to be a difficult thing because they're not going to want to admit that they're a contributor to your child's anxiety. So that's going to be sort of the difficult thing of having the IEP team acknowledge and say, oh, we agree to create all these hybrid partial day programs that might be beneficial to your child. I don't think you need to do that. I think you can construct those things. I also think that the online public school option is a wonderful choice. And as long as you have social opportunities for your child outside of that, there's absolutely zero reason, outside of what your child may need with regards to special education. But if it's not that much that you could sit there and fill those gaps, then, sometimes it's just not worth enrolling them in public school anymore. It's just not.